Thank you, Tom, and the other organizers for including us in the program. Alexandre and I are honored to be part of this conversation. Drawing on the complementary skills of our project team, which includes myself with my background in archaeology, epigraphy, and linguistics, Alexandre Bassi, who specializes in type design, Andrew Glass with his expertise in font engineering, and Debbie Anderson of the Script and Coding Initiative, we seek to provide an innovative digital typographic solution to developing a Mayan font capable of accurately representing and rendering Maya hieroglyphs in digital format. The goal is to provide researchers, linguists, descendant communities, designers, and enthusiasts with a powerful tool for the study, preservation, and use of the Maya hieroglyphic script, and to enhance understanding of Maya culture and history, while paving the way for future research and collaboration with Maya communities. Thousands of texts written in a hieroglyphic script by pre-Hispanic Maya cultures have been preserved at sites throughout the Maya lowlands, which includes Guatemala, Belize, parts of Honduras and El Salvador, the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, and Chiapas, Mexico as well. The language recorded in the hieroglyphic script, referred to as Classic Mayan, is ancestral to the Cholan and Yucatecan languages spoken throughout the Maya lowlands at the time of Spanish contact, and continuing into the present day. Texts may be painted, carved, or incised, and are found on large-scale stone monuments, such as this stela from the site of Quirigua, and on lintels from sites such as Yaxchilan and Tikal. So these would be over the doorway of a building. They also occur on various architectural features, such as exterior or interior walls of structures, and on the stones that cover a vault of a chamber, such as this example. They may also be painted or incised on rocks or the walls of caves, as we see here. Other contexts for hieroglyphic texts are the thousands of painted polychrome vessels, and perhaps textiles as well, as suggested by this example from a mural painted at Calakmul of a market scene. Many other types of portable objects made from stone, bone, wood, shell, and other materials also had hieroglyphic texts. The majority of these date to the Classic period, or from about 250 to 900 to 1000 CE, as do the stone monuments and polychrome vessels discussed previously. Some of the most invaluable sources for our understanding of late pre-Hispanic Maya cultures include the bark paper books known as codices. The four surviving examples all date to the post-Classic period, or between the 12th through early 16th century CE. They consist of almanacs and tables that concern astronomical, ritual, and divinatory matters. Classic period texts, on the other hand, are more often of a dynastic or political nature, such as this example on the right of the palace tablet from the site of Palenque, which concerns the accession of the heir to the throne. Its long text of over 100 glyph blocks contrasts with the shorter caption texts often seen in other media, such as these painted examples that range from the late pre-Classic to the late post-Classic period. During the almost 2 millennia it was in use, scribes employed approximately 2,000 signs representing words and syllables, although only a subset of them would have been in use at a single time. So we have certain signs that represent syllables, such as this toe, others that represent logographs, such as this balam, meaning jaguar, and still others that are polyvalent. This sign, for example, is the syllable ku, and also the logograph tun, meaning stone. Individual signs were combined into what are referred to as glyph blocks to form meaningful units, words, or phrases. They're generally read from right to left and top to bottom. So here we have a T, sorry about that, a keen and a ni. T keen, which means on the day. The ni represents a phonetic complement. The next example has a ka and a wa syllable, but this too indicates that ka is doubled. So we read this as kakawa or cacao. Our final example consists of several logographs, a ku, a bak, and an ahau, and a syllabic glyph la. This is read as Kuhul Bakel Ahau, the Holy Lord of the Bak Kingdom, which refers to Palenque. In addition to their use in text or captions, Maya signs are also incorporated into iconography, often to provide specificity when an image might not do so on its own. So here we have another representation of cacao spelled with ka without the wa, signifying that this figure is holding cacao in his hand. In this next example from the Madrid Codex, we see a stingless bee emerging from his beehive, which is specified with the cob glyph, which refers to bee honey and also to hive. We also see a series of offerings represented. These are various kinds of tamales, again represented by glyphic signs rather than being pictured. During the Classic period, we see a number of distinct regional styles. The broad groupings include the northern, central, western, and southern regions. These were important to the work done on the Classic Maya Text Repository, a precursor to the current project. Funded by an NEH Digital Humanities Advancement Grant to the Unicode Consortium, the project was designed with the goal of creating an annotated digital archive in conjunction with several thousand images of the inscriptions, a sign list and glyph catalog based on the font being developed for Unicode, and an advanced open source publication platform designed specifically for the Maya script. During and following the grant period, which spanned from February 2020 through the end of 2021, the project team, identified here on the slide, worked collaboratively to develop the following: an online open access virtual research environment, Mayan Read, which was developed by Stephen White and Andrew Glass, a repository of classic and late post-classic Maya hieroglyphic texts in the form of line drawings, rubbings, and photographs, a visual dictionary or glyphary of classic period glyphs, which incorporates drawings of several hundred classic period signs. The text repository was developed in partnership with the Latin American Library at Tulane University, which houses a corpus of almost 2,000 original ink on rice paper rubbings of Maya relief sculpture and carved hieroglyphic texts created by Merle Green Robertson. And you can see her doing the rubbing process here. Under the leadership of Christine Hernandez of the Latin American Library, each rubbing was photographed in segments, which were then stitched together to create high-resolution images. So here's the photography process. And then these are the resulting images, the palace tablet, which we saw previously, along with Merle's drawing of the same inscription. And our next example is lintel 25 from the site of Yaxchilan. This is one of the iconic monuments known from the Maya world, with its image of Lady Kabal Shok here, holding a bowl of blood-spattered paper, which was burned in order to conjure this ancestral figure, or this ancestor, as a protector to the community of Yaxchilan. An interesting facet of the monument is that the text is written in mirror image or inverted. So it begins here and is read this way. One of the key objectives for our project was to make a subset of classic period and claudical texts, such as lintel 25, available online in a tool that links a visual image or visual images of the text with transcriptions and other information interactively. Mayan Read provides an environment for doing just that. And here I have a video demo I'll play for you. I hope it'll come through okay.
Looking at Yaxchilan lintel 25, which I'm bringing up now, we see that each glyph block has been segmented into its component parts. Zooming in on this portion of the text, we see that these are identified by a unique catalog code. These were developed by Martha Macri, Matthew Luper, myself, and other colleagues, and associated with the corresponding logographic or syllabic value. This information is linked to a visual dictionary we see over here, so the user can navigate through the text to identify the value of each of the signs. If we start here, for example, we see that this has the value oop. This then has the value sak, to conjure. And here we have a wa syllable. So Utsakao was conjured. What was conjured? Vail, the god of lightning and sustenance. We see his logograph here, and then we have several syllabic glyphs that represent phonetic complements. The first of these is a we, and the second, a la. This is then followed by a we phonetic glyph, which represents a nominal suffix. So Utsakao, Kawil, was conjured, the power of lightning. Looking next at an example from the Madrid Codex, we see how the text and transcription are linked. So we have our text here and our transcription here. This text is read in the normal reading order, left to right, top to bottom, through the caption and in each glyph block. So we have an U first, followed by a pa, chi, another U, a kab, a ba. And this tells us upach ukab. He takes his honey. This is referring to the armadillo who's here within Itzamna, within his beehive, apparently stealing the honey from it. This work and read then lays the foundation to the other facet of our proposal, that of developing a font for classic Mayan.
This font will allow text to be represented in native character or glyph format on computers and in databases. This is what we will turn to next with Alexandre's discussion of his work.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexandre Bassi. I'm a French type designer. I would like to thank Gabrielle Vail for this amazing first part. And I'm now going to tell you about the process and methodology involved in developing a Mayan hieroglyph typeface from the classic period. But before going any further, let's take a step back in time if you don't mind. In 2019, I joined the Atelier National de Recherche Typographique ANRT in Nancy. And I undertook 24 months research on the development of a font based on the Mayan manuscript, also called codices. So here is a quick overview of the glyph drawn during this research. As Gabrielle explained, there are two distinct types of hieroglyph in the Mayan writing system, the classic and the codical one. So, a few months ago, a new project was initiated with the goal of developing a functional font for Mayan hieroglyph from the classic period. This is an interdisciplinary project in which all three actors contribute their knowledge and expertise. So, Gabrielle Vail is in charge of the linguistic part, Andrew Glass here somewhere in the room on the font engineering, and myself in the design and drawing of this typeface. Also, Deborah Anderson was in charge of the following up and coordination of the project. In 2022, Gabrielle proposed a preliminary list of 400 signs from the classic period to the Unicode Consortium. Let's say it's the very first step before a Unicode proposal. But for now, we decided to define a smaller corpus of signs and demonstrated that Mayan hieroglyph typeface can be functional. It's in a way like a proof of concept. So we decided to focus on 66 glyphs of the stele 25 of Liachilan, which Gabrielle has already introduced to you. Not for on this stele, the reading direction is inverted. So the first step was to isolate the glyph in columns, then to transcribe them with a transcription and the reference code points. These code points refer to the catalog produced in last years by Mathieu Looper and Martha Macri, among others, of course, which has become a standard in the archaeological community. So here's the code point for the entire stele. And thanks to these code points again and the Mayan hieroglyphic database, we can easily search for and find all occurrences of a hieroglyph. So we can find the context, the location, and a visual representation of each sign. So I started by collecting all occurrences as you can guess, is quite time-consuming process, but also necessary. Here, for example, with a glyph Balam, jaguar, there is 3 main types of representation: painting, incised, and carved hieroglyphs. And this sign could widely differ according to the support and the tool used, obviously. And the typeface I was going to design had to be the most representative as possible. And so it appeared impossible to try to synthesize all of these different sources into one single digital glyph. This is why we decided to focus mainly on the epigraphic field. But on this epigraphic field, we can also see there is many graphic variation depending on the period, the place, and the tool used. And the digital glyph should not refer to a particular place or time. We can also see that the materials are quite diverse. We can find photographs, rubbings, and drawings, line drawings. So the idea was to gather all available occurrences and cross-reference them and try to position myself as a funnel to identify these typical features of the sign and understand its essence in order to integrate it into a personal digital glyph. So here with jaguar, in almost all cases, the lips with this characteristic fang can be observed, or the cheek with this eye. These spots symbolize the fur of the animal, this element below the ear, and sometimes this cycle at the bottom right of the sign. So here's the result. The interesting, maybe odd thing is that the digital glyph doesn't precisely look like any of them, but while at the same time resembling all of them. So this is my design process. Drawing is an essential part of my type design practice, even on Latin script. So yes, we can easily say I'm an old school guy. So I start with a roof drawing, which I refine again and again, and then use it as a foundation for my digital drawing. As you can see, I drew with stroke, but I will explain why later. The use of many smart components was also necessary to guarantee coherence between all these signs, which are very highly decorated. Yeah, in real life, I drew slightly faster than this. After discussion and correction with Gabrielle, and of course, iteration of the design, here we are, the 60 glyphs drawn in the last few months, not to say days. So let's take a look at the specific aspects of this digital typeface. The first feature on Mayan hieroglyph is the difference in stroke thickness. So you have the external part of the glyph is thicker than the elements inside. It's obviously a feature I have preserved. Another point is this cross-hatched pattern. It may represent the color black or refer to a material. As you can see on the third glyph, which represents a shield, it was actually a L to manage. Another feature has this dot. It can be decorative and sometimes take a symbolic semantic value. Now, about the technical properties of this typeface, the idea was to maximize the space available for artificially enlarged glyphs, which are highly detailed, and also to allow this Mayan hieroglyph to be composed with other writing system. In a way, it's quite similar to what we can see with CGK font. Mayan hieroglyphs are often composed of columns of 2 glyphs, which are read from left to right. Some hieroglyphs can compose of a single sign, can coexist with hieroglyph composed in several signs, glyphs. And each of these must be included in a block in a quadra of the same width. So a grid has been defined to match the archetypal structure of quadrats. This means drawing a glyph in its foot size, which should fill the entire space, and also all the possible variation to enable the quadra composition. As you can see, each variation is different and based on research into original Mayan text. Another interesting point to note is that we can distinguish different types of compound sign. We have main sign, which are predominant in the quadrat structure, and affixes, which are smaller and usually surround the main sign. I'm out of time, so I will skip this. Yeah, so this typeface is, or at least will be, able to be composed in quadra. To make it possible, the solution found was to draw in stroke, following a very precise grade to ensure that the line overlap properly. Several possibilities of composition have been studied. The first one tends to preserve the natural shape of the Mayan hieroglyph, while the last one privileges like the typographic system. For now, the first solution has been chosen, and I assume that could be create excess thickness. And thanks to Andrew's glass work is a demo of a dynamic composition of Mayan hieroglyph. I'm not really going to talk about it. You will discover his work during his presentation this afternoon. It will be amazing. We'll skip these two also. And here we are. If we take our stele 25 from Lachilan, let's isolate these glyphs. Here's the result of the typeface applied to the stele, the entire stele. So there is still a lot of work to do, things to explore, solution to be found. I do think this typeface has a real potential as much in its historical and cultural dimension, the technical challenge it represents, but also obviously the graphicality of the Mayan hieroglyphs. I would like to make clear that the typeface I'm proposing isn't intended to be a reference or a standard, but rather my small contribution to something bigger than me. So thank you very much for your invitation. I would like to thank Stanford University and the event organizer, also personally Deborah Anderson, Gabrielle Vail, and Andrew Glass for their exceptional work. Of course, Thomas Marchand, Christelle Kirchstetter, and all the speakers and colleagues at the NRT, and all of you for being here. Sorry.
Wonderful, thank you. If you could take a seat over there. If all of our speakers could head over there.